Welcome everybody to our second session. This session is about getting into the swing of the detox. And I have Kathy Hallam on the webinar with me. Hi, Kathy.
Hey, Julie. Welcome back, everybody. Ready to get going here.
All right. Welcome everybody to day one of your sugar detox. So on today's webinar, we will be talking about yes and no foods, specifically those questionable yes foods that get asked all the time. We're going to cover them. We're going to talk about lifestyle factors because it's not just about the food that you're eating. There's other things that we want you to be paying attention to. We'll talk about practical tips for eating while you're on the detox, talk about dining out tips as well, and we'll cover what to expect as you go forth with the detox. So when it comes to that question of, is it a yes food? As I said, there are always those questionable foods that get brought to our attention. When you're not sure about a food, go back to your yes/no foods list, follow that list as kind of your guideline when it comes to those foods that you are going to encounter that leave you confused or questioning that food, whether it's yes or no. I think Kathy mentioned it on our first webinar to print the yes/no foods list, have a couple copies, one to have in your car, one to have at work, at home, post it on the fridge, have it with you when you're grocery shopping. As you go through the detox, you'll have it memorized, so you won't have to be using it the entire detox, but to have it at the beginning, it's going to be helpful to be able to refer quickly to that yes/no foods list. Be paying attention to your level as well when you're using the yes/no foods list as a guideline to help direct your choices and help you figure out whether or not you should be eating the food that you're questioning. Added sweeteners aren't allowed, so the only way to enjoy a somewhat sweet taste is to use the included fruits in limited portions as outlined on that yes/no foods list. If an added sweetener is included in the ingredients list of a packaged item you want to eat, that isn't allowed. Take a look at the frequently asked questions, especially about bacon and cured meats. This is one exception to the rule. So there's going to be added sugar in the curing process, but that is going to get cured out. Be paying attention to, though, if it's more than 1 gram of sugar. If it's more than 1 gram, then it's been added as a flavor and it wouldn't be allowed. So be paying attention to those bacon and cured meats. When it comes to full-fat dairy, which is allowed on levels 1 and 2, full-fat dairy is going to contain natural sugars, so you're going to see it show up in the nutrition facts, but you shouldn't see any added sweeteners in the ingredients for full-fat dairy. So watch for that. Also, there will be naturally occurring sugars in, say, a can of tomatoes. So again, you'll see it in nutrition facts, but you don't want to see it in the ingredients. A good rule of thumb, if it tastes sweet and it isn't included on the yes foods list for your level, then it's not allowed. Now, there are some herbal teas that taste sweet naturally, and those would be okay. I would just add that if that herbal tea tastes sweet and it triggers you to want other sweet things, then I wouldn't go there. But if it doesn't trigger you, then an herbal tea that tastes sweet would be okay. Any other item that tastes sweet and you aren't sure about, just leave it out. So when in doubt, leave it out. For grain and legume flours, you won't be eating any foods made from whole grain or refined grain like wheat, spelt, or quinoa. The only flours allowed are those made from nuts, seeds, coconut, and some limited starches like tapioca or arrowroot powder, which you would use as a thickening agent in some sauces. And that would have a maximum serving size of 2 tablespoons per day as allowed on the Detox. If you find it difficult to make a decision about a questionable food on your own, please contact myself or Kathy, and we'll be able to help you decide whether that food is yes or if it's no. Kathy, anything to add on that?
No, I think you covered it well, Jolie.
All right. Then let's move on and talk about lifestyle factors. As I said earlier, it's not just about the food. There's much more to getting healthy, losing weight, achieving your goals than just food. It's also about digestion, sleep, stress, being able to play and have fun, and definitely be managing your stress. We want to encourage you to incorporate all of those things into each day. We want you to be tracking your sleep, your stress, and your activity. And when it comes to sleep, be working towards trying to get that 8 to 9 hours of good quality and good quantity sleep. Dark room, cool room are some suggestions. A great resource if you struggle with sleep is sleepio.com. Check that out if sleep is a struggle for you. And when it comes to weight loss, if that's one of your goals, you need to have good sleep in order to lose weight. Same with stress. You need to manage stress, especially if one of your goals is losing weight. If you're stressed out, if you're not sleeping well, you aren't going to be losing weight. We also don't want you over-exercising, over-worrying, over-obsessing about food. We hope you enjoy the process of the detox. Enjoy that sugar is not going to control your life, your choices anymore. Definitely be incorporating some relaxation time into each day, even if that's just a minute or two of some deep breathing exercises. Pay attention to where your stress is at and incorporate some sort of stress management practice every day. When it comes to activity, be smart when you're working out. Go hard when you're well rested and fed. Be paying attention to your output, asking yourself, how do you feel before you work out? Are you run down, depleted, underslept, underfed? Have you slept well? Have you eaten well? Are you stressed? And then manage your activity or your workouts based on how you're feeling. Also, be paying attention to if you're actually enjoying your activity or your workout, and change it up if you need to. All right, anything to add to sleep, stress, or activity, Kathy?
Yeah, Jolie, I think what I found when I first did the original detox is that I really did notice I was sleeping so much better just by the dietary changes. But I think it's important to just be mindful and be conscious and aware of everything that's going on, how you're feeling, how the food, is affecting how you feel, how different foods, might cause gastric distress or stomach upset. But just be aware how it might interfere with your sleep and with your mood. I think that's really important when we're thinking about trying to be successful in making some positive changes in our life and for the better. And the other thing I thought of, and I don't think you said this, Jolie, but if you take a picture of those yes/no food lists with your phone, then you always have it. I've started doing that too, and that is helpful because I'll make a great list and then I'll forget it at home. So
that's a great idea.
Anyway, most of us have our phones with us all the time anymore.
Right. And you reminded me that with activity and working out, the first 3 to 5 days of doing the detox, you may feel fatigued, worn out. And so during the first couple days of the detox, I would take it easy with activity. And then when your body is feeling better, then ramp it up a little bit more. But some people experience what's called low carb flu at the beginning, and you may have some symptoms that feel like the flu, but it's actually just your body detoxing from sugar, and you'll get over it. So just being aware of that, being careful with your activity output. So Kathy, I will let you take over and talk about practical tips while eating on the detox.
Okay, Jolie, thank you. So it isn't rocket science, the detox program. It's a shift in your nutritional and lifestyle approach that can become easy and second nature if you're willing. Everyone has the tools to succeed. You just have to be ready to use them. Now's the time to start thinking outside your box with your food choices. Experiment. Make sure you're adding good flavors, spices, herbs, detox-friendly sauces, and chimichurris. As I said at the last call, I think flavor is really important in satisfaction and sticking with the detox. So some ideas are lettuce wraps. They're a great bread substitute, or you can just use a fork. But it's not about eating salads all the time. You can enjoy soups, stir fries, skillet hashes. Just use your imagination as well as the recipe resources that we've given you. Bake, roast, broil, braise, or grill your meats and your vegetables. Really like roasting and grilling vegetables. It gives them so much more flavor. Make hard-boiled eggs or homemade jerky for snacks. Nuts in moderation, again, as we talked about in the last phone call. Olives, avocados. Try filling the center of the avocado with balsamic vinegar. Meat and cheese roll-ups stuffed with pickled asparagus or other vegetables really makes a nice quick snack, or even sometimes a meal. It's on the go, so to speak. Sliced vegetables and detox-friendly vegetable dip, leftovers. Those are some great suggestions, but for snacks. But the one thing to remember is if you're often eating a snack, that means you actually need to eat more at mealtime. So increasing your protein and your fat with your meal is a great way to stay satisfied until the next meal. On page 110 of the daily guide, it shows some simple swap ideas. So out with the old and in with the new. Make sure to check out the restaurant menu ahead of time. Being prepared is key. You're probably going to get tired of hearing us say that. There's apps like Yelp or TripAdvisor that you can download on your phone or look up online that are really handy links to menus and restaurant ratings and ideas of what to order. And as far as caffeine or coffee, everyone has a different response to caffeine. Some are more sensitive than others. But it's generally a good idea to limit your coffee to a couple cups in the morning and avoiding it in the afternoon and evening. It can really disrupt your sleep and Sleep is so important to our well-being and health. One of the common questions, especially if you're on level 3, is what to put into your coffee. If you absolutely can't drink it black, some suggestions are using organic, full-fat, not the light coconut milk from the can. One of the good brands include the Whole Foods brands if you have access to Whole Foods, Thai Kitchen, or Native Forest. Natural Value is also another good option. It doesn't have any gar gum additives, and gar gum and carrageenan are often added to the canned coconut milks, and they're stabilizers. And it's just best to try to get those products that don't have those added to them. Almond or other nut milks are good choices. Make sure there's no added sugars or additives if you can avoid those again. They make a good, really good flavorful coffee. So butter and ghee from grass-fed cows is a great option. Simply whip the butter, and it's the only dairy allowed on level 3. Whip the butter into your warm hot coffee in a blender. It becomes creamy and frothy and can be a real enjoyable way to drink your coffee. Again, grass-fed brands of butter are Kerrygold, which is commonly available. Organic Valley pasture butter, Natural by Nature is another resource for the brands of butter. There's something called a bullet coffee. A lot of people are into. You have to be careful if weight loss is your goal. You don't want to overdo the fats. Again, fats in moderation, but a bullet coffee is grass-fed butter and MCT or coconut oil added to the coffee, and that definitely would be one way to even maybe curb your appetite with the oil added to it. Coconut butter or cocoa butter whipped into warm coffee with a blender is really delicious. Those on level 1 and 2 can use full-fat cream or half and half. That's not an issue. And obviously a great way to enjoy your coffee as well if you can't handle it black. For extra flavor, there's something called a cubano, where you add cinnamon to your coffee grounds and then brew the coffee. The cinnamon really kind of gives you a sweet flavor. If you're really missing sugar in your coffee, that's one way to try to substitute that. Add a bit of pure vanilla extract on the top of your coffee already brewed with a sprinkle of cinnamon or cardamom or pumpkin spice blends that have no added sweeteners. And so those are just some ideas on how you can enjoy your coffee. And again, limit the coffee so that you do get a good night's sleep. So to take this to the next step, let's talk about some dining ideas. I mean, that can be a real challenge on the detox. It's important to think ahead before you head out to the restaurant. There is a dining guide, a guide to dining out on page 108 of the daily guide for ordering suggestions at different types of restaurants that can help you as well. But think ahead and don't arrive starving. Before you head out the door, eat a small snack of some nuts or nut butter or a few bites of avocado or leftovers that will help to curb your appetite and also allow you to make better choices when you get to the restaurant. Again, previewing the restaurant's menu online before you go out, checking out the apps like Yelp and TripAdvisor, as I mentioned, especially when you're traveling. That's really helpful. Pass on the bread basket, pass on the chip basket. It'll keep temptation away. Instead, you can ask for some sliced veggies or olives to be served ahead of the meal to help curb your appetite. Either skip the appetizers or opt for a starter salad. Entrees are easy, while finger food is often breaded and fried. Entrees that are made of simpler ingredients can be easier to find that are detox friendly. Looking for grilled, broiled, or baked options is a good way to keep within the program. These typically aren't breaded, and they'll be a safer bet for the detox. And don't be afraid to ask questions of the server for details on how things are prepared. That's their job, and they're used to questions. Another good way to order is to look at the a la carte menu. You can really pick menus apart. You can make substitutions. Most restaurants will allow you to make substitutions. If a meal comes with French fries, bread, or pasta, simply ask the kitchen to either leave it off the plate or substitute some veggies instead. One topic I think is worth talking about too is traveling. Traveling can be a challenge. Again, you're going to get tired of hearing this, but planning ahead is important. Being hungry and not knowing where your next meal is coming from can be a little frustrating. If you're going by car, I like to take a small ice chest, a cutting board, and a knife. That makes it handy to prepare food that you might pick up at the grocery store. Prep and buy snacks ahead of time. Book a hotel room that has a mini fridge or a kitchen. You can always request that when you're booking the room. Another thing ahead of time is to identify local grocery stores before you travel and research detox-friendly restaurants ahead of time. You can plan to eat breakfast in your room. Some suggestions would be deli meat and cheese rolled up, or Granny Smith apple and some nut butter, or plain Greek yogurt and chopped green banana with a few nuts. Again, being prepared is important. As far as parties, again, think ahead. Eat a small snack before you leave home. Ask the host what they're planning to serve so that you do know what to expect. If it is possible, you can offer to bring a dish or two that you know you can enjoy and that will satisfy your hunger and be detox friendly. Most hosts will be happy to have the contribution and glad to know that they don't have to try to figure out something special for you to eat. So those are just some ways to deal with the detox and some ideas and suggestions for eating. Jolie, I wonder if you have any other tips that you might offer as far as eating out, eating around.
I would say, with parties or potlucks, sometimes we get peer pressure to eat certain things, and I would just encourage folks to put their health and wellness first, and it's okay to say no thank you to things, and remembering your why before you either are at a party, at a restaurant, potluck, in the break room, wherever. Just try to have your why hanging right out in front of you all the time so that, again, you are able to put your health and wellness first.
Yeah, I agree with that. The other challenges can be holiday time. All of these suggestions go along with that. You might plan ahead. This is a challenge to do the detox over the holidays. But if that's your choice, then it's going to be important that you do have options that you can choose so that you can stay in program. And you'll feel better for it. You'll feel really proud of yourself if you can go through these situations and come out on the other end feeling good about the choices that you've made. So Jolie mentioned the low-carb flu, and I think that that's something to really just be aware of. It doesn't hit everybody. It really depends on what kind of nutritional approach you've taken before the detox, but it can hit you, and you can feel low energy and not really feel well. So I think a couple of tips. It's important that you make sure you're getting plenty of water and actually adding some extra salt into your diet. When you go low carb and your insulin levels are low, you actually have a diuretic effect. So important to pay attention to that. If your doctor's advised low salt, I definitely recommend talking with your doctor, but adding a little extra salt can go a long way in how you feel. making sure you're getting a good source of protein and a good source of fat at every meal is also important when you are not feeling well on the detox. Those are just a couple of suggestions to keep in mind if you do feel that low carb flu or those symptoms.
Yeah, and folks will be receiving more information on what to expect, especially in regards to those side effects of going low carb. So definitely read through all of that information when you receive it so you aren't kind of hit off center if you start to experience those things. Our next session will be covering, after the detox, reintroducing foods and mindset. That won't be for a while, but just know that will be our next webinar coming up. In the meantime, stay focused on the detox, be reviewing the yes/no foods list for your level, and contacting Kathy or myself if those questionable foods come up and you're struggling to make a decision over whether it's a yes or no food. So until then, enjoy the process of the detox and taking care of your health and wellness.
And enjoy the journey you've begun today. It'll be well worth it in the end. And I think you're going to be really happy that you've made the choice to be healthier and to eat more nutritious and healthy food. So, till next time. Thank you, Jolie.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.